Hi everybody, Bailey here. I'm doing a process video showing a masking technique in a card that I made for Oddball Art Company design team for the December Anything Goes challenge. This is the digital stamp that I used by artist Lizzy Love of Oddball Art Company. It's not one of her holiday images, but it does work well for it and just about any occasion. I colored it with Copic markers and added some glitter with a Jelly Roll glitter pen. Here's glossy accents, which I'm adding to her eyes, her lips, the skull on her shirt, the heart on her skirt, and her shoes. And of course, glossy accents just adds dimension to the image. And you can see here it brings the eyes to life, I think, and the lips especially. So I'm using masking fluid. This is Daniel Smith masking fluid. And I don't like the way it squirts out of the bottle. It gets areas where it's kind of clumpy. So I use a brush and I just brush it on a very, very dry brush, of course. And when it builds up with goobers, I just have a wet paper towel or a damp paper towel rather close by, and I just get the goobers off with my fingernail on the paper towel. So I brush the masking fluid over the entire image and try not to go over areas that I've already done because then it makes it kind of clump up. It's important to note that you should go inside the lines, so you don't create a halo effect. You can see here there's a sheen over the entire image, so you can see where it's at. So I'm sponging on some distress ink. This is Faded Jeans. I'll also use broken china and peacock feathers. This is my homemade ink blending tool. It has two ends to it, and I just use the Ranger ink blending pads. And I have a bunch of different snowflake stamps that I'm going to use, and I just stamp on with distress ink randomly, being sure to go over the image so it shows off on the side a little bit and to go off of the edges of the paper as well. I'm also going to stamp with Memento ink in nautical blue and teal zeal because I'm going to use water soon, which activates the distress ink, but it doesn't affect the Memento ink. So that difference between the different types of ink just adds visual interest because the Memento ink is permanent and the Distress ink is water soluble. So there's the water. Excuse me. I'm just spritzing it on very lightly. This was the first time I had ever used water with masking fluid, and I wasn't sure how the masking fluid would hold up, but it held up very well. I mean, granted, I didn't add a lot of water, but it held up. This is one of those little finger sponge daubers, and I'm adding broken china around the image because the image wasn't standing out as much as I'd like from the background. So I figured if I added that darker ring around it, that it would stand out more, which it does. And then I'm inking up the edges. Here's a flourish stamp, and I'm just uh, swiping the ink pad across the flourish stamp, not to try and stamp it perfect or anything. I do it, just stamp it randomly around the image and very lightly. And this is a dots stamp. And inking up the edges with nautical blue Memento ink. So the image wasn't standing out as much as I'd like still. So I used a Prismacolor color pencil in ultramarine and just colored around the image a little bit. And colored pencil tends to be grainy on the paper, which I don't like. So I always use a solvent to blend it out, which is Gamsol. It's just an odorless mineral spirit. It's the one that I prefer. It's used for oil painting and for other things, and it's probably the least toxic of all of the odorless mineral spirits. And this is just a paper blending stump, and I just dip it in the Gamsol just a little bit, just the tip. I cover the my container of Gamsol. I put it in a little jar so it doesn't evaporate. Put the cap on right away, and then just there dip it in and blend out the colored pencil. And the masking fluid still held up really well, even though I used this solvent. I didn't go over the masking fluid, but it hit the edges of it, and it was just fine. So when the blending stump gets too much pencil on it, I just shave it off a little with an X-Acto knife and it's good to go. And it dries very quickly. So here I'm trying to take off the masking fluid with an eraser. It wasn't working very well, so I just decided to use my finger, which was much more effective. And you just basically roll up the goobers and then brush them away. But when I did this, the silver gel pen on the wings was a little bit dull. It wasn't so shiny anymore. So you can see here it's not as shiny. So I'm going to go over it again with the gel pen, go over each flourish again, and then I'll clean up my lines with a Micron point zero 0.01 pen, and then go back over again with the Jelly Roll glitter pen. And but it's still not as shiny as I'd like on the wings. So a little trick I use is to use a stylus and just basically trace over the areas with the gel pen and the glitter, and it just shines it right up. I think it makes all the particles face in the same direction or something, but there you can see how much shinier it is. So here's my card, and I distressed the edges of the paper with a pair of scissors and a nail file and mounted it onto a piece of blue cardstock, added a bow, mounted that onto a craft card, and added a little bow to her hair. So, thank you for watching. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel. I encourage you to enter challenges for Oddball Art Company. They're a lot of fun and you can win free digital stamps. I'll provide links in the description to all that stuff. Thanks again for watching. Have a good day.